Welcome back, everybody, to digital. No, just kidding.
I was like, wow.
Welcome back.
Well, thanks, guys, for joining me. I'd love for you to just introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, what your role is in Young Life, and then we'll kind of jump right into it.
Salter. I am the area director for Young Life here in Valdosta, Georgia, Lowndes County, Georgia, all the way as far south as you can get, just north of
Reed's wife, Emily, and I'm along for the Young Life ride.
Awesome.
Our social media manager.
Yeah. Social media manager. You're also a teacher. Yeah, you do way more than Reed does, or at least way more than you let on. Well, I asked you guys to jump on this because I wanted to hear a little bit about how things were going on Instagram, specifically for you and your area, how things got started, some fun things that you have seen happen, some things that maybe the Lord has done even recently, just some fun stories you've told me. So we'll jump right in, and I'd love if you can just share just right off the bat, maybe a story of a time when social media made a really big impact for you guys in ministry in Valdosta.
So it really starts at the beginning of our journey on Instagram. It started in the summer of 2023. Emily had just become a Young Life leader. We had just taken an awesome trip to Windy Gap, and I didn't have an assignment that summer. I was doing summer campaigners, and I decided, with not a ton of strategy or forethought, I'm going to start following a ton of kids on Instagram. And so we had 400 and something followers, and this was an area-wide Instagram account for our 3 schools. And I followed over 1,000 kids throughout that summer. Anyone that we had mutuals with, if they had the high schools in the bio, I would follow them. And at the end of the summer, I followed these 2 guys, Noah and Jesus, and they talked about it with one another. And they didn't know how to get involved. And so we had something in our link tree that said, get involved with the Young Life. And it was for adults. The choices were join the Young Life committee, become a Young Life leader, host a banquet table. It was very adult focused. And so they filled out, join the Young Life committee. And I texted them and said, hey, would love for you to get involved. Are you a high school student? And here's the next thing we're doing. And it was our junior, senior meeting. And they showed up, and I had no idea if these high school guys knew what Young Life was, if they knew it was a Christian organization, but they came to this meeting, and I told them all about what we do and how I was really casting vision for inviting their friends and making Young Life awesome at their school. And we maybe knew 30 kids by name at their high school of 3,000. But Noah and Jesus, because they heard about us on Instagram and they talked about the fact that we followed them, they got involved and were the catalysts for making Young Life blow up at their school. They came to this meeting and caught the vision. And now we know, a year and a half later, we know 200 kids by name at that school. And a lot of it was them finding out about it on Instagram and then inviting their friends to come.
One of them was so involved that he called himself the president of Young Life, which we don't have, but he gave himself that title to the point where one of our committee members saw, maybe she was wearing a Young Life sweatshirt, and he saw her out, and he said, oh, Young Life. And she goes, oh, you're the president. So he made a name for himself with that.
That's awesome. Where are those 2 now?
Jesus is a freshman at Valdosta State here in town, and he's going through Young Life leader training. And Noah is at the Citadel and he's finishing up his time as a freshman. They're called knobs, and he's doing summer staff at Plunge this summer. And I'll say that Noah and Jesus and a bunch of their buddies came to Crooked Creek last summer, and they graduated the same day that we left. And so we took a late car and they took a late flight and had the best week of their life at Crooked Creek last summer.
And it's fun to look at their journey, because one of the things they fill out at the junior senior meeting is, do you have any suggestions for us? And they'd never been before, so we were kind of wondering what they would say. And they said, probably better marketing, because we've never heard of this before. And so that also gave us a kickstart to go, oh, we should probably be better about being a presence on social media, because that's what drew them in. But also they acknowledged that we kind of weren't doing that, and they had no idea that we were even here.
Yeah. That's awesome. And how long had you been doing ministry there kind of prior to that?
Since 2010, we've had Young Life there. COVID made things look a lot different. We hadn't had a guy leader there in a year, and I was just starting to lead there that semester when I met them.
We moved to Valdosta in 2021.
So we had been here for 2 years, and then that was year 3 as they were kind of starting to get.
Awesome. And then just one piece there, you had that summer followed like 1,000 kids. Was there any negative impact that you saw there, or was it all neutral or positive?
It was all pretty neutral or positive. We didn't have, because I even was a little concerned at first. I was like, are you sure people aren't going to think we're being creepy? Like, they don't know who we are. But most kids just followed us back. I think they were just like, oh, well, sure. No one raised any flags or.
And I really think that was the beginning of us starting to learn more about the way that high schoolers approach social media versus the way that we do. To them, it wasn't weird. It maybe piqued their interest. What is this organization? I noticed that they followed me. And then as we've had conversations with kids, we can tell that they're watching what we're doing. They'll mention, oh yeah, I follow y'all on Instagram. I know that y'all do this. This is what y'all meet on Mondays at 7:27, right? They're asking those kinds of questions because they've seen it, because we followed them.
Which, even with Noah and Jesus, Reed and I were talking about it a little bit ago. The reason that it sparked their interest in particular is because we followed both of them. So they both said, hey, did that account follow you? Like, we should go. So they both saw it, and it was a point of conversation for them.
And had you already been posting things kind of like you are now, at a kind of regular interval? I mean, your account now is awesome, and that's all to Emily, I'm pretty sure. And at least from what you've told me, Reed. But had you been posting that regularly in that same kind of way, or has that changed sort of since ministry maybe has grown in that direction?
It was happening. It was beginning at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I had been running the Instagram, but as Emily was becoming a leader, we had maybe posted 2 reels, and we posted a summer camp reel that Emily had made, really from live photos. I had not taken any videos. Emily didn't go to camp, and we got back and Emily posted that, and it was the biggest camp trip we had taken. Kids were sharing it. And so there started to be a little bit of a buzz. And from those social media posts, kids that we didn't know started showing up to summer campaigners from a different school than Noah and Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, these parents are just dropping their children off at our house.
We're grateful, but
was awesome.
We didn't know who they were.
But that's when we were starting to post more relational content,
mm-hmm.
I would say.
And I would say highlighting kids more than we highlighted what we were doing. I think that was, or if what we were doing coincided with highlighting kids, that was what made things take off a little bit more and maybe seem more alluring to a high school student, was seeing their friends, not just seeing us or a graphic that said, come to Young Life. I mean, that gave no information, but seeing like videos and pictures of their friends doing stuff through Young Life, I think was more of an interest piquer than other things that we had been posting. And we kind of picked up on that as it continued to grow.
Yeah. Double click on that a little bit, like the maybe nitty gritty of what you decide to post sort of when, and maybe not like every single thing, but maybe an overall, like what is it that you are looking for, and why do you post those things, and why do you think it's important to post those things?
Say one of the first things that we started to do is Emily became a leader. We started having club, and Emily would take pictures we have a Nikon DSLR camera, not super fancy, but she started taking pictures at pre-club, and we weren't doing even club posts at that point, but we were just posting pictures on our story. And maybe, go ahead.
Well, I was even going to say, I think some of that even came from me on the outside saying, like, that would be a great thing to send to donors. That would be a great thing to send to in your monthly email or to people on the prayer team, like just showing them what we're doing, because it's hard to explain. Pictures don't do it all justice, but at least it gives you a taste. And then we kind of, when we picked up on that and we started sharing it on the account, we realized, oh, kids really take ownership of that. So when we decide what to post, it's not just things that would make good advertisement. It's also just highlighting kids. So I think the focus when we're taking pictures or videos or whatever is just like kids having fun. A lot of what they speak on is like how Young Life is a place where they can come to people they know, people they don't know, and leave as friends. And so I think showing that through little clips, not the whole thing, we don't want to give the whole thing away with a post, but just showing enough where it's like everybody in that picture is smiling, and they don't go to the same school, and they may not look like each other or be the same age exactly, but they're all hanging out and everyone's a part of it. And so I think a lot of times highlighting stuff are like those little in-between moments that aren't necessarily posed, or because kids love those too. I mean, they're asking for those at club. They are knocking down the door for me to take their picture before club starts. But once we get in there, it's really sweet to see all those in-between moments that they're maybe not even paying attention, but enjoying themselves. And I think this generation is so authentic and so genuine that they see that and they're like, oh, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's really good. Really, really good. Switching gears, I'd love for you to tell the story about, we don't need to use his name, but I think you know who I'm talking about, the kid who kind of found you through a Google form. And like, would you mind sharing kind of that piece and maybe where things are at right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier this semester, there was a student who filled out a Google form in our bio. And I mentioned Noah and Jesus doing that, but we started having so many kids doing it that we made our own Google form just for high school students. It says high schoolers get involved in Young Life. And it has 6 or 7 questions. It's very basic, but kids can fill it out. And then I reach out to them and I connect them with a Young Life leader at their school. And so it's a personal text. It's a very brief, what is Young Life? And then here's our next thing. And here's a Young Life leader at your school. And so earlier this semester, a student at, I would say, the school that we've had the least presence at the last couple of years, filled out the Google form. And the last question says, any questions for us? And he asked, will I feel welcomed on the first time? And almost no one asks a question, but it kind of stopped me in my tracks. And I sent it to my leaders in committee saying, this is the question that every high schooler asks when they're showing up at Young Life, whether it's their first time or not. Am I going to feel welcome? Do I belong in this space? Mm-hmm. And I texted him and I said, hey, you are going to feel welcome. We'd love to have you. This is what Young Life is. And so he showed up on the next Monday night with a friend, and we got to talk. They had the best time. And they said, "Thank you for being so welcoming. We'll definitely be back." And they start sharing it on their social media. And in the past 6 weeks since they first came, I bet 45 other students from their school have filled out the Google form. And a lot of it is because of these two guys, because they started sharing it. Kids from their school saw it and they start to say, "What's this thing that these guys are at?" And it looks like people from all schools and people of all backgrounds showing up at this, and it's piqued people's interest. And so now a third, close to a half of our club is from that school, and they have taken ownership. Where I haven't even told you this, Adam, but he posted on Facebook some pictures from club that we had shared on our story saying, "I'm a part of this organization. It's awesome. It's an opportunity to gather with other young people." And yeah, you can read it if you want to. But it's so encouraging. I sent it to my committee and I said, "If you need a good cry today," this is what he said.
He said, "Every Monday, I attend a Christian organization that allows all high school students in Lowndes County and Valdosta to engage and build friendships. We receive a lesson from a Young Life leader to grow in faith. We love Young Life. Don't let Sunday be the only day you have a relationship with God."
That's wild. That's crazy. Crazy, crazy. Yeah, that's just amazing. Just such a cool, I think, testament to this. And and we've talked about this before, but kind of walk me through too. It's not like this because these kids were from the public school, if I'm remembering right, and it's not like you hadn't been doing in-person contact work there. You've been praying for that school. You've been doing like all the normal Young Life leader things there, and weren't gaining traction. Am I correct? I mean, or as much as you want. And then is this, is this kid and sort of this way was sort of maybe the thing that pushed it over the edge?
I would say yes to pushing it over the edge. Right now, I am the only leader who is showing up there, which is not the ideal. In a perfect world, there would be more guys. We have a few girls placed at the school. And in the past year, I guess 1 year ago is when they started letting us in the school. And so we show up at lunch, and it's been a good connection point where now when I show up at lunch, I try to show up twice a month on Wednesdays, and I hold a whiteboard with a this or that question. And now high schoolers are coming up to me saying, "Are you the Young Life guy? How do I come to that thing?" And it is helping them. They see it online and they notice, and then they see me and they see their friends coming up to me, and they kind of make the connection. Oh, this is what everyone's showing up to. How do I get to come to this thing?
And you have the Young Life Instagram on the whiteboard, don't you?
No, I have two little Young Life stickers, and then I have a flyer that I'm not handing to kids, but it's at the bottom of the whiteboard. And so if they come up and we're chatting, they can grab it, but I'm not peddling Young Life saying you should come to this thing. But if they want information, if they say, "What do I do?" they grab the flyer, and it has a QR code to our link tree so that they can fill out the get involved with Young Life form.
We have to be careful at both of the public schools that we're at because it's truly a blessing and a gift to us to get to be in there because it hasn't always been that way. But the whiteboard has also been a good touch point on social media because he does the polls, and it's a silly this or that question. And a lot of times we ask kids for their input, but then he takes a picture of kids holding it that want to be featured, and then he'll tag them on the story, and people are also allowed to vote on it. So it kind of has another draw in, which we took that idea from another area. And, but it's another point of engagement. And also when kids really care about it, they're like, go vote on that thing. And so it's another thing to get people to kind of to the page without being in their face to kind of see what it is.
Yeah. Do you guys see your Instagram a little bit as like a front door to your ministry, or like how do you think about that page? You know, when you're talking about it with adults, how do kids actually kind of use it? What's maybe the way that you see it? That might be a weird question.
I think it's a front door in a lot of cases. It's their first interaction with Young Life. Most likely, especially with in the past year, how much kids in our area are sharing it, especially we post stories after club and we tag as many kids as we can. And on a Monday night, 90 to 100 stories are being shared, and every one of them has a little Young Life logo on it. And so they're being flooded on Mondays. And so high schoolers know on Mondays there's this thing called Young Life, and a lot of them land on our page and they see that it's fun. And so if they landed on our page and it was graphics or us promoting our banquet, or if our audience was confusing and we were trying to talk to different audiences, I think that it would be very confusing. What is this organization? Who is this for? Is this a thing for high schoolers? But I think having our bio be very specific, saying what Young Life is in an inviting way with language that's inviting, having a link tree with access to different information that's pertinent, having some things pinned. What is Young Life post? We have a post about camp, and then we have our banquet video that has tons of kids' faces as the first 30 seconds of it. They get to see really quickly as soon as they land on our page what we're about. So I think it's really helpful, and it's our first impression in a lot of cases.
And I think they can. Sorry, go ahead. I think that they can see just by opening the page, kind of like Reed said, like directing who our audience is. And there's occasionally a post that's like, we need to get the word out there that we're having a banquet, so we're going to put it out there. But we even sometimes are like, high schoolers, invite your parents. Even addressing that language to them, I feel like they can go to that Instagram page and open it and know this is for them without a question. There's no, I don't even. We try to feature us on there, almost none, because we don't. One, Young Life doesn't start and end with us or other leaders, and two, we want them to know it's for them. So I think if our Instagram, like he said, was just graphics or peddling the things that we wanted to share about what we're doing, it's kind of the same thing as if we never show up at the school and they just keep inviting them to club. It's kind of our digital contact work way of doing that, because if it's all about us, what's in it for them to follow it? That has no draw for them. And I think you can still balance sharing information that needs to be shared while also highlighting kids at the same time. And so that makes the page drop, like you said, like the front door. It's also kind of like a living room. Like, this is what we're doing in here.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, maybe even like a window for kids to be able to see in that you don't know at all. I mean, you had just mentioned at that, when you're doing the stuff at the school, kids will come up to you and go, "Oh, are you the Young Life guy?" I would imagine you don't know a lot of those kids, but they know who you are, and that's pretty wild to me. Well, as we finish up, I'd love to get some advice from you guys. There's lots of Young Life areas in our mission. I mean, everybody has an Instagram page or some kind of social media presence, and everybody's spending some type of time on those things, and varying levels and different things. But if you were to give advice to an area that's maybe just starting to dip their toes in the water of this, what would some first steps be from your perspective?
You want me to start?
Sure.
I think knowing your audience, which Adam, you do a great job, and the Young Life digital account is a great place to start for realizing what that is, but saying, we want this to be to the high school students in our town, maybe especially the ones who aren't already coming. We don't want this to be insider trading. We want this to be, oh, I want to think about what is the high schooler who's never been to Young Life, what are they going to think when they land on this page? So you start thinking about that, and then you follow high school kids in your town. If you have mutual people with them, follow them, because it matters. And they might follow you back, might not, but they notice. That would be the first thing I would do.
But I think once you gain traction with having kids, like your audience is your account following, is engaging with kids and asking their opinions and asking for their input on things, because even things like, what's a song you want to hear at club, or what's a club theme you like, because we experience that at senior junior meetings where they kind of get to get their input, but they're not the only ones with ideas. We've even used it, like, we've had a lot of growth and we haven't had time or the resources to learn everyone's name all at the same time. And then we have kids that have been a couple times who are like, I want to play. I don't know their name yet to put up there. So we've invited them to put their name in, and using it as a tool to engage with people, with high schoolers, that show that we care about what they say. There was one post we just kind of threw it out there to see. We said, what is, like, I think it was like 86% of high schoolers say they feel under pressure. Like, what's something that you feel pressured about? Is that how we worded it?
Yeah, it said, I feel pressure to blank.
And the amount of vulnerability that kids showed was just another point proven to us that this is their currency. This is how they communicate. And so being able to open the door and say, okay, this might not be something that I would answer. Like, I probably wouldn't answer that on an account, but my audience might, our high schoolers might, and they did. And you can use that information to lead campaigners groups, for your club talks, for just to know what kids are experiencing, because it's different than it was when we were in high school.
And I think you can ask things and post things that don't even necessarily have to do with your Young Life club. We had a hurricane in our town, and it was heavy. Those days on social media, you're seeing all of this devastation. And we were trying to think, what can we post that's not tone deaf to the situation, but that could be engaging? And so we posted a picture of our dog, and we said, send us a picture of your pet and we'll post it. And 80 something high schoolers DM'd our account pictures of their goats and bearded dragons, and
we do live in the South,
so all kinds of things, and we shared them. And
this was kids we didn't know, kids who had never been to Young Life.
We had no idea who a lot of them were, but we said, yeah, we'll share this. Or we just try to ask things that, even if they're not someone that we know, that they would feel comfortable engaging. And that might be they may reply to something. And we didn't know this until, Adam, we kind of started working with you, that's a bid for friendship in a way, and engagement. And so now we always respond. We may not always be sharing it on the story. Some people say ridiculous things in response to our questions, and I'll say, man, I'm not gonna share that on the story, or I don't say that to them, but I just send back some fire emojis, or say, this is a good take, or I say LOL, or whatever, but acknowledging that they filled out the question box for what song we should sing or whatever.
I think if we could go back in time and tell ourselves some things, we probably would have started sooner. I think we were, because we're not old, but we're not young. We kind of maybe took ourselves out of that game a little bit and thought, like, it's not that important. But now we realize how important it is, because it's so important to high schoolers. And if we could go back in time, or give an area just starting out, I think I would say, like, it may feel really weird at first, but just do it and see what happens, because it can't hurt. And it's something that's grown our ministry. I mean, at the time that we started doing that, we had how many kids at most coming to club?
At that time, it was 30 students coming to club, kind of on average, in the fall of 2023. And then by the spring of that year, we were having a club at our house.
We were prepared for it to dip. The spring is crazy.
And the spring just kind of kept going. And the last couple of clubs, there were 85 kids in our living room. And we were trying to figure out what do we do? We've outgrown this space. And it's just continued to grow, where we're now running into issues of we're growing too much. And so many people are finding out about it, and we're praying for the leaders to be able to love the kids who are coming, who are finding out about it. And so that's kind of where we are at the moment. And the Lord is blessing and using this tool of Instagram that doesn't replace the relationships and the contact work, our bread and butter, but it is getting kids in the door and helping them see maybe this is something that I want to get involved in.
And it's a tool of representation. I mean, our diversity has grown immensely, which is one of the biggest prayers that we have had since coming here, because we live in a diverse area. And when there's representation somewhere, it's like, oh, that's for me too. And we never saw it. I mean, we couldn't have predicted that it would work in that way too. But it's a huge tool, because it really, that social media is a common ground for a lot of kids. So seeing your friends on there helps say, oh, that's not just for that school, or that's not just for this side of town, or whatever it may be. Like, this is for everybody here.
And I think us sharing school events, and we have one Instagram for 3 schools. And so we have to be cautious of not prioritizing one school or the other, or that kind of thing. But I've tried to get into a rhythm of, hey, one day a week, I'm going to share something on the story from each of the schools, whether it is Lowndes won this big region baseball game, or we have a student who got into this school and it's awesome and we're celebrating that. And we try to kind of do those in bursts, highlighting their things. And it just displays that we care in the same way that we show up to things, that we show up to the JV tennis match where no one's there, but we say, we see you and we care about it. I think you can do that on social media and give dignity and value to kids.
And finding a way to balance. I would say that's another piece of advice we would have to find a way to balance the lighthearted stuff and the serious stuff, because we do both within Young Life. I mean, that's kind of like the plate that we serve Young Life on a lot of times. And so I think on social media, that can be fun too. I mean, there are times where, like, we ask those vulnerable questions, and then there are times where we ask the dumbest questions, and kids answer pretty similarly both ways, like the same amount of engagement. And so, like he said, you reach some that you don't know in a way that's just a touch point or a hello, and then you reach some in a way it's like, oh, that's somebody I know, and I didn't know that about them, and now I feel like I can enter into that with them, or curb my campaigner lessons to like really care for that kid well. But having both makes it feel like a safer place.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's a good spot to end, and I just have really appreciated you guys being open to doing this and vulnerable. And I mean, it's been really fun to watch and see, I think, what the Lord has done using this tool. And yeah, just thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having us, and for all your help.
Of course. We'll talk to you soon.